In the hyper-connected landscape of the 21st century, information moves at the speed of light. But so does misinformation. Recently, this digital ecosystem was set ablaze by a torrent of rumors that swept across the internet, all centered on a single, high-profile individual, President Donald Trump. The subject? His health. What began as scattered posts and isolated queries quickly coalesced into a massive viral event. On platforms designed for maximum engagement, these rumors spread like wildfire. Algorithms, tuned to promote sensational content, pushed the story into millions of feeds. Within hours, hashtags began trending. Users from across the political spectrum started asking serious questions about his well-being, transforming private curiosity into a global public spectacle. The digital town square was buzzing with a singular, insistent question. Was he sick? Had there been an undisclosed medical emergency? Was he hiding something from the public? And if so, why? The questions were simple, but the potential answers were complex and politically charged. These whispers, amplified by the echo chambers of social media, grew louder and louder. What started as a murmur evolved into a deafening roar, creating a perfect storm of online speculation that became impossible to ignore. The public conversation quickly moved from quiet, behind-the-scenes concern among supporters to outright public alarm. The narrative escaped the confines of niche political forums and exploded into the mainstream consciousness. It became a complex and messy blend of genuine worry from his base, cynical political trolling from his opponents, and a host of wild, unsubstantiated conspiracy theories. Each faction used the information vacuum to project its own hopes, fears, and agendas onto the situation. This digital whirlwind, fueled by anonymous sources and a lack of official comment, has left many Americans disoriented, struggling to discern what is real and what is simply rumor. It's a stark reminder of the fragility of truth in a post-truth era. But this story is not just about one man's health or even one viral rumor. It's a case study in how information and disinformation is created, packaged, and disseminated in our modern age, and how it can shape public perception and political reality. The speculation wasn't born from nothing. It was ignited by a series of events that seemed highly unusual for a public figure as famously visible and media-savvy as Donald Trump. For a man who has meticulously cultivated a persona of strength and constant presence, any deviation from the norm is instantly noticeable. The primary catalyst was his schedule, which suddenly went blank over a long holiday weekend. There were no scheduled appearances, no high-profile rallies, no impromptu press gaggles, and most tellingly, a near-total silence on his own social media platforms. For days, the typically relentless stream of communication ceased. For a politician who has built his career on dominating the news cycle and thriving in the media spotlight, the silence was deafening. It was an absence so profound that it became a presence in itself, a void that demanded to be filled. Naturally, people started asking questions. Where was he? Why was his team not providing any details or a simple explanation? This official silence tapped into a long history of public distrust regarding the health of powerful leaders, where the full truth has often been obscured. This information vacuum, created by the lack of official communication, became the perfect breeding ground for speculation. In the absence of facts, rumor and conjecture took root, grew, and spread across the globe at an exponential rate. Adding fuel to this fire were several photographs that began circulating online. Sourced from recent public events just before his disappearance from the schedule, these images were scrutinized by an army of online sleuths. They appeared to show visible signs of potential physical distress, turning abstract worry into something seemingly tangible. The focus was intense. Commentators pointed to apparent bruising and red discoloration on his hands. Others analyzed photos that seemed to show significant swelling around his ankles. While these could have innocuous explanations in the context of his absence, they were presented as damning evidence. These visual clues added a powerful, seemingly concrete element to the growing speculation. Each share and retweet stripped the images of their original context, adding a new layer of interpretation, alarm, and armchair medical diagnosis. The photos became Rorschach tests for a worried and divided public. This potent combination, a blank schedule, a sudden and uncharacteristic public absence, and a handful of concerning photographs, created the perfect storm. The internet, a machine built to fill silence with noise, did what it does best. It generated a narrative, a chaotic and contradictory story filled with fear, mockery, and intrigue. So, was this just a fleeting internet meme that got out of hand? A temporary fever dream of the terminally online? Or was there something more substantial happening behind the scenes? A genuine issue being deliberately concealed from the American people? To find the answer, we must cut through the noise. In the chapters ahead, we will meticulously examine the evidence, dissect the official explanations that eventually emerged, and analyze the powerful political motivations that were driving this entire, extraordinary narrative. The questions surrounding Donald Trump's health are not just a matter of public curiosity. They are a seismic event on the political landscape. They carry immense political weight because the health of a president, or a former president poised for a comeback, is inextricably linked to the stability of the nation's leadership. This isn't merely about a medical chart. It's about the steady hand required of a commander-in-chief, the confidence of global allies and adversaries, and the stability of financial markets that react to the slightest hint of uncertainty from the Oval Office. If a former president is seriously ill, the tremors are felt immediately throughout the political system. It fundamentally affects upcoming election dynamics, throwing carefully laid campaign strategies into disarray. The balance of power within the Republican Party, long consolidated around a single figure, suddenly becomes precarious. The party faces an impossible dilemma: how to project strength and unity while privately grappling with the potential incapacitation of its standard-bearer. Fundraising efforts could stall, and voter enthusiasm could waver, creating an opening for the opposition. A weakened Trump, even the perception of one, could create a power vacuum of historic proportions. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does politics. Other prominent figures, long waiting in the wings, could see this as their moment. Ambitious governors, senators, and other party leaders might begin to subtly position themselves, not as challengers but as loyal inheritors. This initiates a shadow primary, a delicate dance of building alliances and testing messages, all while publicly pledging unwavering support. Into this charged atmosphere, key political figures wade in, their every word scrutinized for hidden meaning. Vice President J.D. Vance, speaking at a national security conference, made comments that echoed through the political establishment. He stated he was prepared to lead if a terrible tragedy struck. On the surface, it's a standard affirmation of a vice president's constitutional duty. But the timing of that comment, amidst swirling rumors, felt significant to many. It was interpreted by supporters as a sign of readiness, and by critics as a calculated move. For many observers, it was a tacit acknowledgement of real concern within the highest echelons of power. Beyond the immediate political fallout, a potential health crisis of this magnitude forces a national conversation about transparency and public trust. The American public has a long and troubled history with presidential health. Past administrations were heavily criticized for hiding serious medical issues. Woodrow Wilson was incapacitated by a stroke, his condition hidden for months. Franklin D. Roosevelt's declining health was concealed during his final campaign. John F. Kennedy publicly denied having Addison's disease, which he secretly treated his entire adult life. That history has bred a deep and abiding public skepticism. Therefore, if it were proven that Trump's health was in serious decline, and that information was deliberately withheld from the American people, the consequences would be catastrophic. It would represent a major breach of the sacred trust between the governed and their government. This wouldn't just be a political scandal, it would further erode the already fragile public confidence in our core institutions, making it harder for any leader to govern effectively in a climate of pervasive distrust. Ultimately, the truth, whatever it may be, has far-reaching constitutional consequences. If the rumors are true and Trump is indeed seriously ill, the country could face profound constitutional uncertainty. The 25th Amendment provides a mechanism for the transfer of power, but it has rarely been tested under contentious circumstances. A scenario where a president is unable to discharge his duties but unwilling to relinquish power could trigger a crisis, pitting the vice president and the cabinet against the president, with the stability of the republic hanging in the balance. Conversely, if the rumors are proven to be entirely false, This episode serves as a stark lesson about the corrosive power of modern misinformation. It demonstrates how political anxiety, amplified by social media algorithms and potentially stoked by domestic or foreign adversaries, can create a reality of its own. In an information vacuum where official sources are silent or distrusted, speculation and conspiracy rush in to fill the void. Online trolling and coordinated disinformation campaigns can destabilize a nation without firing a single shot. Either way, whether rooted in fact or fiction, this entire affair reveals the fragile state of our contemporary public discourse. It highlights the immense, almost unbearable pressure placed upon our leaders in an age of total information warfare. The health of a leader has become another battlefield in the ongoing struggle for political power, leaving the public to wonder what is true, who to trust, and how democracy itself can remain healthy. As the digital storm of speculation and concern reached a fever pitch, the White House could no longer afford to remain silent. The pressure from non-stop news cycles and a worried public demanded a response. The administration's strategy was twofold: to project an aura of calm control and to provide rational, reassuring explanations that could anchor the narrative back to solid ground. It was a delicate balancing act, aiming for transparency without validating the very rumors they sought to dispel, all while protecting the sensitive medical privacy of the nation's leader. The stakes were immense. Any misstep could fuel the fire and erode public trust even further. First, they addressed the most visible sign: the dark, unexplained bruises on his hands. The official line, disseminated through press briefings and background conversations, linked them to a combination of two mundane factors. The first was the sheer physicality of the job, the countless vigorous handshakes that are a daily ritual for any politician. The second was the use of a daily low-dose aspirin. Medically, this explanation is perfectly plausible. Aspirin is a well-known blood thinner that inhibits platelets, making capillaries more fragile, and individuals more susceptible to bruising from minor impacts. For many, this was a simple, logical answer. For others, it felt a little too neat, a convenient off-ramp from a more complicated medical highway. Next, the swollen ankles. Citing a report from the Economic Times, the administration attributed this to chronic venous insufficiency, or CVI. This is a genuinely common condition, especially in older adults, where the veins in the legs struggle to send blood back up to the heart. Prolonged periods of sitting or standing, staples of a presidential schedule, are known risk factors. The condition can cause swelling, aching, and skin changes. By labeling it as a common condition, the White House aimed to normalize the symptom and strip it of any alarming connotations. However, medical experts know that while CVI can be a standalone issue, it can also be a sign of more serious underlying problems, including heart failure or kidney disease. This crucial detail meant the official explanation, while plausible, did little to silence the more informed and skeptical observers. The messaging was meticulously coordinated and relentlessly positive. The central theme was clear. These are known, documented, and entirely manageable conditions that have no bearing on his ability to govern. Official statements from the White House physician insisted Trump had never felt better and was in excellent health. This was echoed by Vice President Vance, who took on the role of the primary character witness, stressing the president's energy and sharpness in every public appearance. The language was carefully chosen. Words like robust, vigorous, and fully engaged were deployed across all channels, creating a unified front designed to overwhelm the narrative of decline. To further counter the swirling rumors, the administration launched a full-spectrum damage control operation. This was classic political stagecraft, updated for the 21st century. The goal was to project an undeniable image of vitality, to show rather than just tell. This meant engineering a series of carefully managed public appearances designed to showcase physical fitness and mental acuity. Trump himself became the star of his own PR push. He was conspicuously photographed golfing, an activity long associated in the public mind with his leisure and confidence. Simultaneously, his Truth Social account exploded with activity. He posted over 40 times in a single day, a torrent of commentary, reposts, and classic Trumpian rhetoric. The message was implicit. A man who is unwell does not have the energy for this. The sheer volume was a statement in itself, a demonstration of stamina aimed directly at those questioning his vitality. However, this carefully orchestrated response was met with a significant degree of skepticism, particularly from the press and political opponents. For critics, the explanations felt too convenient, too simple. The administration's history of downplaying negative news and spinning facts created a credibility gap. The official narrative was seen not as a transparent account of the president's health, but as a politically necessary story, crafted to protect his image of strength. The conversation quickly expanded beyond bruises and ankles to the more sensitive issue of cognitive health. Psychologists and neurologists, speaking to news outlets, pointed out that physical symptoms like an unsteady gait, highlighted by his recent red carpet stumble, can sometimes be indicators of neurological decline. These expert opinions gave a veneer of scientific legitimacy to the public's concerns. This, despite Trump's repeated claims of having aced cognitive tests like the MOSA. Experts were quick to point out that such tests are screening tools for dementia, not nuanced measures of executive function, and that passing one doesn't rule out more subtle cognitive changes. In truth, many of the observed symptoms could simply reflect the natural process of aging, entirely normal in a 79-year-old man. A bit of stiffness, the occasional stumble, a verbal slip, these are common experiences. But in the hyper-scrutinized world of a political leader, nothing is normal. The digital age acts as a relentless amplifier, where every misstep is captured, looped, slowed down, and analyzed by millions. This creates a speculation vacuum. When definitive, trusted evidence is not provided, rumor and conspiracy rush in to fill the void. Until a comprehensive and transparent medical evaluation is made public, the court of public opinion will continue its own diagnosis. This intense focus on his health has fractured public reaction along predictable political lines. For his supporters, this scrutiny is seen as another unfair attack by a hostile media. Some strategists even see an opportunity, suggesting this could be the perfect moment to build a comeback narrative, framing Trump as a fighter, bravely battling not just his political enemies, but the frailties of age itself, a narrative that could deeply galvanize his base. On the other side, the reaction has been one of unconcealed, almost gleeful schadenfreude. Critics and opponents who have long propagated rumors about his fitness seized upon the new evidence with vigor. The discourse quickly devolved into mockery, with memes and cruel jokes circulating widely. Some online commentators even posted openly celebratory messages, joking about what they would do if the worst rumors turned out to be true. It's a stark reflection of a deeply polarized and dehumanizing political landscape, where the health and humanity of a leader become just another weapon in a partisan war. If it is true and Trump is genuinely ill, we'd face questions about succession, transparency, and public trust in the presidency. Medical opacity would raise alarms. Americans have a right to know. Constitutional chaos could ensue.
The political fallout would be immense. Democrats would demand legitimacy assessments, GOP factions could fracture, and media would drip-feed every update.
Given frequent misleading health narratives from both parties, this would heighten skepticism about transparency in the Oval Office, further eroding public trust. If it is false, the viral chaos shows how digital rumors can almost replace reality.
The incident would become a political weapon, used to discredit any and all criticism as a malicious smear campaign orchestrated by his enemies. Fake news.
The media would face a difficult reckoning for being manipulated by online trolls and contributing to the panic, blurring the line between reporting on and creating the news. The real loser would be the public's confidence in its ability to discern truth from fiction, leaving a lasting scar on the body politic. So what's really happening? The truth probably lies in the middle. An aging man with minor health issues, amplified by trolling, anxiety, and political theater. If Trump is genuinely ill, we must push for transparency, for the sake of the presidency, the people, and the republic. If he's fine, the viral chaos shows how digital rumors can almost replace reality. In either case, America learned a lesson. In the age of optics, absence becomes accusation, and silence can ignite conspiracy. Let me know, do you think these rumors had any merit? Was it health, politics, or digital chaos? Comment below And if this breakdown cleared the fog a bit, smash that like button and subscribe for more Fast Point breakdowns.